one of the things that they talk about when people write a book, you write a book because you have an idea that no one's done before. And when I was coming out, it took me like 10 years to actually get out, and it took so much time to find information. So once I did my website, one of the main things was I didn't want everyone else have to spend just the thousands of hours I did going through books and getting things out of the library and finding little websites online.
I reckon that's really considerate that Mr. Grundy there, he does all that research and painstaking hours so that you don't have to. Yeah, I thought that was a good point. If you want to do what he's done, because you don't believe that what maybe he's done is 100% true, then you'll have to go through all that painstaking research yourself and experience all the anguish that goes along with it. But the alternative is you let someone else do all the hard work, and then you just drop in on their final assessment and then decide whether it's true or not. There's one thing that's occurred to me, and that is the amount of time, research that they've all put into exposing a religion that they don't even rate as being used by Jehovah. That doesn't make sense to me. You know, if you think that someone is out of the running, you just wouldn't even bother with them. That would be an insignificant thing to you. You wouldn't even pay them a second glance. But the apostate community, Lloyd, Grundy, all of them, put masses of energy, time, and intelligence into exposing their former religion, to the point where I'm beginning to think that deep down in their mind they actually believe that Jehovah's Witnesses could still be the closest religion to what could be deemed as a religion that God would be using. And that is an occurring thing that goes through right through the apostate community. It's the amount of attack time that they direct towards the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's very, very curious to me, because I wouldn't go to this kind of trouble to expose anybody if it was apparent to the whole world that they weren't a true religion. So what's happening is the reverse is starting to come to the fore for me, and that the rebellion that occurs in the final last days, all this rebellion or this apostasy is just more evidence that the true religion is still standing. It hasn't been knocked off its perch. But we just can't prove, can we? We just can't get that final bit of proof that Jehovah has got his arm around the Jehovah's Witnesses because of what's happened, because of the Australian Royal Commission, and because of these court cases that have come up subsequently. But having said that, although we can't prove he's got his arm around them and he's protecting them the way a father would a son, we can't prove the opposite either. We can't prove that he's let them go, that he's cast them aside. We don't have the same evidence as when he stopped using the Israelites as his chosen people, and when he selected the Gentiles. We can't get that evidence together because there isn't any evidence to be got at this time. Jehovah is still using a special group of people. No matter what Grundy says, no matter what Lloyd says. Right, and I'll tell you something else. Deep down, Lloyd probably still has nightmares about the tribulation, because, you know, when you've been indoctrinated like we have, it's there, it never goes. You look at all the videos that he's done, and he does have this obsession, doesn't he, about what the Jehovah's Witnesses say is going to happen in the last days, and the birds of the heavens come down and feast on the fleshy bits of the humans. He mentions that more than once, and that can't be a coincidence. That has to be because he's been terrified just like the rest of us with that religion, and it's still there. So he's not entirely cut through or cut loose, has he? He's not completely severed the link. It's still there, but on top of the way he is now, he's decided that he's making money on the back of his former religion. I mean, he's even got his book there. He's selling his book, all on the back of his former religion. You have to weigh up what makes more sense. Are the Jehovah's Witnesses still the closest to what could be deemed as our true religion? If not, then you're nothing to worry about. But if we do enter into a final confrontation, and we enter into what is known as the final last days, and then everything that we've learnt about those final last days occurs, as Jehovah's Witnesses have more or less been saying, then what? Then do we have a different change of opinion? I think you need to know what's really going on now, because them two don't convince me, and they never will. They'll never convince me, right? No one ever gives any praise back to God. No apostate who turns up there gives any praise back to God. And the one woman that speaks later has to apologise for still having a belief in God. Can't you see how wrong all that is? It's totally wrong.